Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear sister. The message that she sent to me, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, my story, it goes on like this. So ever since I was in high school, I was someone that was really naughty. I used to date a lot of guys, and I used to date these guys for the sake of them giving me a lot of money. So back in those days, we used to call these blessers your sugar daddies, and I used to date this other blesser, but unfortunately, when I was dating that blesser, he then made me to fall pregnant. So I fell pregnant for him, and then after I had fallen pregnant for him, unfortunately, me and him, we had to break up. And after I had dated that guy, that was when I started to date another blesser who made me again to fall pregnant, until finally I started to stay with one of my uncles. So whilst I was staying with one of my uncles, I then started to go to the same church where him and his family were going to. But in that church, there was this other blesser who was like really rich, and this guy, he was lusting after me. Since I was already into dating these rich sugar daddies, I then started dating that guy, and then I fell pregnant for him again. But this guy, what people did not know was that he was busy sleeping around with most of the women that were married in that church, and no one even realized that this is what this guy was doing. But they respected him a lot. Even my uncle respected this sugar daddy of mine, because they did not know what exactly he was doing. So after this guy had made me to fall pregnant, that was when I was kicked out of my parents' house, when I had returned back to stay with my parents. And I then ran away from home, and I started to stay with this other friend of mine who was also prostituting herself. At that time, I was almost like a prostitute, but I was not going into the streets like physically to go to the streets, then strip myself naked and show men that I am a prostitute. But I was like a prostitute behind the scenes. There were guys that knew that when they wanted to be with a woman, like when you want to be with a woman over the weekend, then you will just call me, then I'll be willing to be with you. So this girl, what surprised me was that this woman, the way that she used to dress, it was really scary. She used to have these long nails, and her makeup was really scary, as if she wanted people to think that she was a witch. But what would surprise me was that even though she had this scary makeup and these long nails, men will always be chasing after her. And one thing about her is that she always loved to wear these dresses that were full of glitters. Would always wear these dresses that were full of glitters that made men to always look at her. Even if you will be dressing decently, but no man will be chasing after you. When you were around her at a party, you will know that she will always be the center of attraction. Guys will be chasing after her, wanting to sleep with her. So what I had not realized about this woman that I was now staying with, who was like my best friend, this woman, she was using the marine spirits to attract the men that she was dating. And that is why these men, they would find her to be so attractive. It was because they were being seduced by the marine spirits that were inside her body, because she had been initiated into this other club of women that were prostitutes and that were using your marine spirits. Then there was this other day, after I had complained to her and I told her that my life was not going anywhere because I was in pain. I had 3 kids with sugar daddies, and these sugar daddies, they were refusing to assist me to take care of these kids that we had together. And there is nothing in this world that is more painful than knowing that you have a man that impregnated you and you gave that man a child, but the man, even though he is very rich, but he refuses to assist you in any kind of a way. That is what was happening at that time, and I was sinking into depression. When this woman saw that I was sinking into depression, she told me that I had to hold on a little bit, for she was going to find a plan for me. I said, what kind of a plan? She said, I know that you are in a lot of pain and you keep on asking yourself, why is it that you are able to date these guys that are rich, but at the same time, after you have dated these guys that are really wealthy, these guys, they do not even think about you. They do not even help you at all in life. All that they want to do is to sleep with you and just buy you some takeaways. So I want that to change. I want you to be in a situation whereby if you date a man that is wealthy, that man will be willing to give you all of his wealth. So this woman then told me to wait a little bit. So I waited for her until the day that she told me that she had been invited to this other party, and I was supposed to go with her to the party where she had been invited to. So we prepared. She wore a strange makeup and she did her strange nail, and so the day arrived when we were supposed to go to that dinner party that she had been invited to. So she wore a strange makeup and her scary clothes, those long dresses that made her to look like a mermaid. When the evening arrived, we then went to this other old woman's home, which is in Borodol. That woman, she is very wealthy. She is really rich, but she is not a married woman. When we arrived at that woman's house, that was when I was told that the woman's daughter was the one that was being initiated. This dinner party, it was for her. So she grew up in the UK. So she had recently came to Zim for this ritual to be done on her. The way that we had this dinner was that we sat in the dining room. They had shifted all the furniture and they had left this dining room empty. And then we sat on the floor in a circle, and in the middle of the circle there were these other candles that they were burning, and then that was when the ceremony was being done. So as this ceremony was being done, that was when I suddenly saw that in this same living room there were some mermaids. So in my life I had never thought that I'll end up seeing a mermaid. So when I saw a mermaid with us in that room, I then started to scream because I thought that maybe I was losing my mind. I screamed so hard. So after those mermaids had disappeared, that was when that other old lady who was the leader of that occultic group got up from where she was sitting. She walked really fast. She then went outside. But when she came back, I noticed that there was blood that was dripping in her hands, and she was holding this other knife that was full of blood. She walked quickly. She then went and she threw that knife in the middle of the circle where those candles were. And after she had dropped that knife onto the floor, then I saw that this knife, it disappeared. But when it reappeared, it was as if there was someone who had cleaned the blood that had been all over that same knife. Then that woman looked at me and she was angry. Then that old lady looked at me with so much anger written all over her face, and she said, "You do not want to scream again, because the mermaids," she said, "the marine spirits, they do not like to be in a noisy place. They just want to be around people that do not make a lot of noise." She then said, "You do not want me to spill blood again. Do not do that again." That was when I was told that the next time around, when they were going to do another dinner party, I was the one that was going to be initiated into their marine spirit occultic club, so that I can start to date men that will be willing to give me all of their wealth. So the next time around, when they had their dinner party for their marine spirits, I was then invited by my best friend. So they made me to sit down cross-legged. Then they placed 6 candles around me, such that I was sitting in the middle of the circle that they had created using those candles. But my brother, when these marine spirits came to possess my body, I actually felt them. And these marine spirits, when they tried to enter into my body, what happened was that all of these candles, they then died down. After those candles had died down, that was when we felt so much cold, as if we had been locked up in a fridge, and we actually crawled out of that living room. When we were finally outside, that was when the leader of their occult club looked at me and she said, "You need to leave my house." I said, "Why?" She said, "Just leave my house. For the marine spirits, they have refused you. They have refused to accept you because of your mother's prayer." And that was when I remembered that each and every time when I was still being trained, when I would go back home after that other friend of mine would have taught me how to communicate with the marine spirits, then when I would return back home, I would find my mom praying really hard, and I would feel so weak, as if those marine spirits that would have entered into my body will be leaving me. So they told me that because of my mother's prayers, I could not be allowed to join this marine spirits club, and I felt so much pain in my heart because I honestly wanted to be part of their occultic club. But then I was told by that lady to leave her house, so I left that house, and she told me never to return back to her house. That is how I stopped being friends with that woman. I am sure that she was told by her occultic master to stop being friends with me. Even though I am still a single woman who is suffering in life, but I am thankful that I do not use any charms to bewitch men like what that woman was doing. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Strange things do happen in this world. Please let us talk about this issue in the comment section.